A mysterious disease is ravaging all sentient life. Dark hostile entities known as Shades have emerged in overwhelming numbers, slaughtering all within their path. Humanity stands at the brink of annihilation. As one of the survivors of the catastrophe, with a sibling afflicted with the Black Scroll illness, you are responsible for protecting your younger sister and searching for a cure lest she suffers her inevitable demise. But you shall not stand alone. A dark power-wielding magical tome, a strangely dressed, foul-mouthed outcast swordswoman, and an experimented disfigured boy with potent magic prowess shall accompany you on your journey against seemingly insurmountable odds. With these four heroes banding together, can they muster the strength to fight against all that stand in their way? Where will their journey take them? What lies at the end of the road? And what lengths are they willing to go to achieve their objective as they traverse this brutal, bewildering, and broken new world? Welcome to NieR Replicant. As an avid player of JRPGs, long have I wanted to give the NieR games a chance. And with the persistence of some of you, I decided to jump into this first entry. I will cut to the chase. This game is phenomenal. I would go as far as to say that this was one of the best JRPGs that I have ever played. So to those who convinced me to play this, you guys know who you are. Thank you. Never have I expected a title that is rich with innovation, gameplay, and storytelling features that integrate so well to the overall experience from a AAA publisher such as Square Enix. Do note that I will be revealing spoilers at the latter part of the video, as there's plenty to be said about the story, but I will be sure to notify you as I reach that point. So without further ado, let's get started. Let us begin with the visuals. While NieR Replicant does not possess state-of-the-art photorealistic graphics, it does have a unique art style and charm. From remnants and technologies of the old world to environments such as dark forests and deserts, the game presents various locations as you progress in the story. Critical characters in the game feature detailed, distinct, and shall we say, self-aware design.
Hands off the flowers.
Weiss, why's that lady in her underwear?
I fear we have greater issues to deal with.
Players will encounter numerous types of foes, from small creatures to large machines and giant beasts. You will find no shortage of enemy variety to defeat. Without a doubt, the most unique aspect of the graphics is the visual flair of the projectile attacks, especially in boss fights where you will encounter multitudes of them. It will not be surprising that this will instantly be recognized as a NieR game. If I sound like I am selling the visuals short, I do believe they are good, but not necessarily the best. With that said, I will now dive into the other features of the game, which I can confidently say are fantastic. NieR Replicant is a fast-paced action role-playing game, with the protagonist, bearing the same canon name, is in search of the means to cure his sister Yona from the Black Scroll disease, which is the central premise of the game. Keep in mind that I will be referring to the protagonist as NieR moving forward, but do note you are able to customize his name as you see fit. In the battle against the dark entities that inhabit the world, known as Shades, NieR has 3 melee weapons at his arsenal: one-handed swords, two-handed great swords, and spears. Swapping out weapons can be performed on the fly by pressing the down, left, and right D-pad buttons, allowing for slick and seamless combat. One-handed swords are the most versatile, with standard damage, attack speed, and range. Two-handed swords deal greater damage, but have slow attack speed and has the widest attack range, with the spear inflicting the least amount of damage, but has the fastest attack speed and shortest attack range, which is my favorite of the 3. As per the norm in action RPGs, defensive abilities in NieR Replicant include blocking, parrying, rolling, and sidestepping, which can prove to be rewarding and satisfying should you successfully execute them. Shortly after the start of the game, you will encounter your first companion, a magical tome named Grimoire Weiss, or Weiss in short.
I am Grimoire Weiss. My very name brings kingdoms to their knees.
Weiss has the ability to wield and cast a wide range of dark magic known as sealed verses. Sealed verses are your magical abilities, ranging from projectile attacks, life absorption, wall protection, summoning blades, and more. Sealed verses will consume your mana pool, but will regenerate as soon as you stop casting them. So no need to worry about MP management, as you simply need to stop casting for a brief period. You can map 2 sealed verses at a time, with the shoulder buttons, which are L1 and R1 for PlayStation systems, but you can change these at any time in the menu. Alongside NieR and Vice are 2 unusual individuals who will aid them on their journey. Kaine, a swordswoman outcast due to her birth deficiencies and special condition.
Kaine, what's going on?
Don't be fooled by this lady. She's a shade.
And Emil, a boy with powerful magical capabilities from being subject to heinous experiments conducted to him. Kaine wields 2 blades and also casts magic abilities to crowd control foes, while Emil utilizes his magic abilities from afar and at times heals NieR of his injuries in combat. The strength of NieR Replicant's combat system is that it is designed to have as little micromanagement as possible. Your interaction in the main menu is kept to a minimum, and the developers at Toy Logic clearly want you right back at the action as soon as possible. Combat progression is very straightforward. Kill enemies to accumulate experience points and level up. Leveling up yields increased health, mana, damage, and defense. No need to allocate skill points or attribute points, as the game automatically applies that for you. Upgrading weapons is also simple and can be done in 2 ways. Firstly is through augmenting them with what is called words. Words are dropped by enemies and can be equipped on weapons to provide attributes such as increased damage, defense, experience, item drop rates, and so on. Unlike other games, this feature is more streamlined in such a way that words are not exclusive to one piece of equipment or ability. For example, if a word raises attack power by 10%, you can also equip that word to other weapons without the need to obtain more of that same word, which eliminates the tedious chore of having to farm more quantities. The second method of upgrading NieR's weapons is to obtain materials needed to increase their level. But I only utilize this in the tutorial section of this feature, as you will eventually obtain stronger weapons as you progress in the story. For completionists, maxing their levels is going to be a treat. Consumables are also simplified as items that either restore HP, increase strength or defense for a fixed amount of time, or cure poison. I do appreciate that the developers wanted players to spend less time on the menu and more time playing the game. Combat is neither too easy nor too Souls-like difficult, but be careful in the early game, as a few mistakes can lead to your downfall. Outside of combat, there are other activities to partake in, such as fishing, gardening, and accepting quests. Though I did not utilize the first 2 beyond their respective tutorials, I did perform a great deal of quests, which range from finding items, purchasing goods, killing shades, and more. Nothing out of the ordinary, but quests are never mandatory, and you will only need to do some of them to unlock the true ending should you wish, and I strongly recommend doing so. More on this later. Now that I have tackled bulk of the gameplay, I can now finally talk about this aspect of NieR Replicant where it undoubtedly shines the brightest, and that is the camera. The game's use of the camera is nothing short of brilliant. To be able to do something so simple and exponentially increase the immersion of the gameplay is amazing. To my surprise, I have never seen other JRPGs innovate the use of its camera as creatively as NieR Replicant. Whether it is entering indoors or in the middle of epic boss battles, I have to give a huge thumbs up to the developers of Toy Logic. At first glance, it is easy to determine that the development funding for this game is not exactly at AAA levels, such as the mainline Final Fantasy or Dragon Quest games. Where Yoko Taro and his team triumphs, however, is their ability to make the most of what is given to them. This is made manifest on how they simply change the angle of the camera to reduce their programming scope while also enhancing the gameplay experience, amazingly striking 2 birds with 1 stone. When in towns and entering indoors, the camera pans to a 2D perspective. Not only does this make the exploration experience fresh, but also makes interior design of these structures much less in scope, and therefore resulting with interiors brimming with detail. While reducing the scope may seem like a negative attribute, I do respect the design choice, as how many times have I seen dull exterior households in other games simply because there's so much real estate that developers had to prioritize resources elsewhere. If given a choice, I would easily choose this over dull or empty 3D designs that have become the convention of many other games. The same can be said with the combat system. I have lost count on how many times I have praised the development team on how well thought out and executed the shifting of the camera was, rather than the static positioning we have come to expect with many other titles in this genre. There is even a section in the game where the camera pans to an isometric view, making it feel like playing an entirely new game, similarly to the likes of Hades or the Diablo games. For puzzles and riddle-solving enthusiasts, NieR Replicant also offers such segments that will not disappoint. My favorite among them being the Earth Temple in Part 1. It involves a series of evasion and movement of objects to protect you from harm, while also removing them as obstructions from your path. I love this section despite my general disdain towards puzzles, because it is not too difficult to leave you clueless, while at the same time, you need to figure out how to bypass the obstacle, as some of them instill special conditions, such as no casting of magic or dodge rolling, and doing so will result in having to restart the puzzle. Apart from platforming puzzles, NieR Replicant also features riddle solving in the dream sequence. Dreams are executed in the form of a black screen, with well-written text that describes what transpires in the dream. Emphasis on the spectacular writing, as it is very clear that they are written by a professional writer. To mitigate spoilers, the general idea in these meticulously worded sequences is that you will have to solve the riddle by providing the correct answer in a multiple choice structured questioning. Failure to do so will lead to having to restart the sequence, and in some cases, even leads to your death. If you're looking for a challenge to your intellect, then I can confidently say that this game does deliver. Wasn't how it's supposed. What? Before I wrap up with the gameplay features, I would like to discuss one more point, as I believe this deserves a spotlight. Returning back to the Earth Temple, at the end of the dungeon in Part 1, lies a boss battle with a giant that pounds its arms to the ground and create a shockwave for you to jump or evade to prevent taking damage. While it may seem nothing out of the ordinary, I commend the strong attention to detail in this battle that modern games neglect. As the giant pounds its arms to the ground, you will have a window to strike the hands after evading the shockwave. Once I managed to cut off some of the lower fingers, and when it tried to pound again, there were no more shockwaves produced because I have cut out the fingers, which took me aback, as action games nowadays just leave players to keep attacking the boss, and usually only the movement and attack pattern changes as it approaches its defeat, and rarely cripple one of its means to attack you. We need more games to return back to this creative form, rather than simply flexing photorealistic graphics, performance, and animation. Truly, it is a delight to see a JRPG of this caliber to possess this much creativity that I have not experienced for some time. Now that I have wrapped up on the gameplay, let us talk about another outstanding aspect of the game, and that is the audio. From the remarkable voice work of the cast, to the background music, which I can describe with these words: elegant, divine, and majestic, as you venture forth into the game's world full of mystery and intrigue, from exploring the different landscapes of the game. To the intense boss battles. And last but not least, how it blends so perfectly to the tone of the cutscenes.
Emile, you were the one calling me, weren't you? You still recognize me? Of course. I knew you right away. Thank you, Kaine.
Welcome back, Kaine.
Because I felt it was so well implemented, I needed to find out how it fits so perfectly into the game, and boy was my mind blown again. Let's take a look at this article by PlayStation Blog. Perhaps one of its most unique details was the made-up lyrics Emmy created, suitably named Chaos Language, invented to sound as if our modern languages had drifted away for thousands of years to finally become indistinguishable to us. The reason we went for this mysterious made-up language is because we felt that as game music, having lyrics which you can recognize and understand might distract you from the gameplay. We wanted something that could truly serve as background music if you don't know what these mysterious words mean. You can't get sidetracked. For Emmy, this was the opportunity to try something completely new. I have always been fascinated by languages, so this was a very interesting task for me, and I welcomed the new challenge. There's German, Hungarian, Welsh, Japanese, French, and Latin, as well as some extra sounds I thought up myself. If researching and creating a random language per soundtrack is not passion, then I honestly do not know what is. I have nothing more to say to the audio of NieR Replicant, other than it is perfect. So I made a promise to warn you in advance if I'm going to dig deep into spoiler territory. And that time is now. Again, if I have convinced you to play this game, and you would like to experience the story for yourself, then please stop this video, and hopefully come back when you are done. From this moment on, I will assume you have played the game and finished the story in its entirety, or you are perfectly fine with spoilers. So let's get to it. Spoilers in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Before I discuss my take on the true ending, let us first talk about the structure of the game loop. I feel the need to defend the gameplay cycle, as it can easily be portrayed as a negative rather than a positive attribute of the game. As you know, NieR Replicant has 5 endings to unlock, with each succeeding playthrough, until you reach the 5th and true canon ending. And if you attempt to explain this to someone to convince them to play the game, the initial reaction would probably be, oh, the development team did that on purpose to pad out the game length. And I can't say I blame them. Heck, even I thought as such when people first told me about it. While to a certain degree it is true, what needs to be said that this was done by design to further enrich the game's storytelling. For the first playthrough, Yoko Taro and his team want players to learn more about NieR and the world around him. By seeing how the story unfolds in his point of view, we are easily able to absorb what is transpiring rather than getting information overload, which is what many games these days suffer from. This is also the first time players encounter the major antagonists of the game. While we only perceive the Shades to be brutal, mindless savages that players will come to loathe, little did we know that this is part of the development team's grand design to have more impact in the succeeding playthroughs. Beginning the second run is where we learn more about the origin of our companions, Kaine and Emil, revealing cutscenes and story beats that were never shown in the first run, with Kaine being treated poorly her entire life, except for her adopted grandmother, who is mutilated by a shade, explaining her strong hatred towards them. It is also revealed that the bandages around her body is to hide the fact that a shade has partially possessed her body, in the hopes of fully taking over in time. As for Emil, we delve deeper in his experience as a child, along with his late elder sister Halowa, on the terrible ordeal they went through, as well as some of the more touching moments they had before they met their horrifying fates. Had these stories been crammed in a single playthrough, their emotional impact will be significantly less in comparison to being revealed on a staggered basis. Once again, this hits 2 birds in 1 stone. Not only can players better absorb what transpires in the story, but this will also reinforce what they have learned in their previous playthrough. And to make it easier to obtain the other endings, players start at the second half of the game with everything they have accumulated in the previous playthroughs, making it easier to decimate foes until they once again reach the finale. Hence why I say that repeated playthroughs are done by design, rather than simply increasing the game length. Now let me expound how this applies to the game's antagonists. Also at the beginning of the second playthrough, new cutscenes of the boss shades come to light. I point this out because it is Toy Logic's intention to shift the player's perception of the shades from anger and hatred to some sympathy and even pity. This method of storytelling proved to be successful, as I got teary-eyed not just for the people who have suffered at the hands of the shades, but after more reveals, I also did the same for the shades themselves, with what they have gone through. From the girl shade at the seafront mindlessly devouring humans, to uncovering beginning the second playthrough that she has learned to love one of them and was left wanting to be human, resulting in her desperate, depraved, and violent attempt to become one. The same can be said with the wolf in Facade, where there was never ill will to begin with, and the violent deaths of Fira and the wolves were unnecessary and simply a misunderstanding that could have concluded in peace instead of bloodshed.
呪われきゼルガン生だと言うと秋月大使スラエフィアとゲンカ
Indeed, having players do repeat playthroughs with added emotional story beats makes it better to take in than simply absorbing everything outright in one run. With that said, I do admit that obtaining the true ending does require some significant grinding, farming, and completing of some long quests. But in its defense, I understand why players needed to work to get this ending, as it is truly fantastic and no better closure for these excellent cast of characters. So finally, let's discuss the true ending.
Don't go. Gotta go back. Don't go.
Shut up! I already made up my mind. Nobody tells me what to do. I swore I would be a sword. I swore that I would be your sword. Do you hear me? So I am going to get you back, and I don't care what it takes. Who the fuck do you think you are to just up and disappear like that, huh? I'm the one who gets to decide what my life means to me. It's my life, and I'll do whatever I want with it. So quit wasting time like a brainless fuckwit and get your ass back here now!
I leave the rest to you, Hussy.
Our journey may have been meaningless.
Our past may have been a mistake.
But we're not going back.
Even if this world comes to an end.
Because this is the world with the people we cherish.
Let me begin by saying kudos to Square Enix for allowing the developers to add this outstanding ending. They could have easily not included it, but here it is, with a better sound off for the stellar cast of characters. I would also like to say that the wiping and restoring of save files is genius, and I wish more games can be this creative when it comes to integrating storytelling to the gameplay experience and immersion. Now let's talk about the details of the ending itself. The true ending, or Ending E, begins 3 years after the events of Ending D, where Kaine is continuing to live her life as an outcast, fending off stragglers of shades, and forgetting the existence of NieR. In the original game, the story concluded where NieR sacrificed his life so that Kaine can live and be free from the clutches of Tehran at the cost of being forgotten. But I couldn't help but ask, where did that lead her? Kaine simply returned to her old life, letting time pass, still despised and uncertain of what she wanted to do. Back with NieR and the rest of the team, she found purpose and felt valued by providing support to NieR to get Yona back. But now all that was taken from her when she came back to life. What does she stand to gain given the state of the world? So in my eyes, it was a no-brainer that upon remembering NieR's existence, when battling the administrators and retrieving her lost memories, Kaine did not hesitate to get NieR back into her life. The nobility of NieR's sacrifice was indeed wasteful, as a life without him was not a life worth living for Kaine, given all that she has suffered throughout her life. With the fall of the Shadow Lord, or the original Gestalt, humanity's extinction was already set in stone. Thus, in Kaine's perspective, if she is to spend her final days, it may as well be with the people she loves, as that is all that matters in the end. Truly a beautiful closure for the stellar cast of characters. No tropes about saving the world, just simply living your life according to what it means for you, and not letting anyone else dictate otherwise. It is so refreshing to experience a JRPG that does not pull punches, that one day humanity will meet its end. As the game says, our journey may have been meaningless, but in the end, all that matters is that we are happy with the way we live, and did so with the people we love. I can only hope that more games adopt this storytelling, as honestly, saving the world is getting old, after experiencing this magnificent closure for the very first time. With that said, NieR Replicant is a true masterpiece. The graphics are by no means state-of-the-art, but stands out nonetheless. Gameplay is smooth and seamless, with brilliant 3D and 2D camera transitions. The excellent voice work of the cast brings life into the lovable characters. The creative passion in composing the music blends with the experience perfectly. The story and characters have immense depth, and no doubt will tug your heartstrings. The new ending is fantastic and could not have been written any better. Without a doubt, I recommend all gamers to play this game at least once in their lifetime. NieR Replicant is the game I never knew I needed and wanted, and succeeds in what it set out to do in flying colors. And that concludes this video. If you are still here, I would like to say thank you, and do subscribe if you have not already for more JRPG content. If you want to see me play the game I will cover live, then do subscribe to my live stream channel, which can be found in the description below. Have a great day, and I will see you next time.
Our journey may have been meaningless.
Our past may have been a mistake.
But we're not going back.
Even if this world comes to an end.
Because this is the world with the people we cherish.